My dad started with National Cash Register Company back in the late 50s or early 60s. He loved selling cash registers.
Dumac Business Systems was founded in 1952 by my father, Bill McCarthy, and a partner that he had met at NCR school.
I've got a picture when I was like 4 or 5 years old programming an old Victor, because I've been doing this since I was 4 or 5 years old.
In the 1940s, my father, Stanley Heyman, was a cash register dealer.
My grandfather started selling typewriters in 1919. Over the years, my uncle joined the business, my dad joined the business, my cousin joined the business.
My father, along with people like Ed Mancini in Chicago and Harry Rosenstock and the Rosenbaum family and others who were in the business, had created a loose alliance, talking on the phone, trading parts and knowledge, the best they could, and they actually started to have some informal meetings. The top of their agenda was really to get as many members involved as they could, to join the association, really whatever they could do to help each other.
NCR was really the dominant company. I would say they had 85 to 90% of the market.
John Patterson, the founder of National Cash Register, was truly a genius. He built beautiful factories, he treated his staff very well, and he had 10,000 people working for him by 1920. But he used competitive strategies that were unscrupulous to thwart the competition, driving them out of business, truly underhanded. I mean, to a point where he was actually indicted along with 29 other National Cash Register employees for breaking certain laws and harassing competitors. The biggest challenge they had was having a supply chain of product to sell.
NCR would not provide parts so that the dealers back then could fix old NCR cash registers.
The first challenge was to figure out a way to level the playing field with National Cash Register. The dealers decided, the association as a group decided to fight National Cash Register in court.
The lawsuit that ICRDA did against National Cash Register at the time was successful and really got them out of all of those competitive techniques that they used.
It turned out to be a great opportunity for the association. The ability to position the association and its members as being able to represent the European manufacturers of cash registers, the Sweda, Anchor, Hassler, and other companies that were trying to make inroads into the United States but didn't have a distribution channel, and the membership of the association represented a springboard for these European companies to come into the United States, and it presented a huge opportunity for the dealers to compete with National Cash Register head-to-head with new equipment. The settlement with National Cash Register enabled the association to have an office actually in an NCR facility, which we called Operation Date.
When we won that lawsuit, the people that were running the show back then felt like it was incumbent on ICRDA to buy parts in bulk from NCR and be able to sell them out in small quantities to the dealers.
They set up Operation Dayton for supplying parts.
NCR wasn't thrilled that we won the lawsuit, and so they were not particularly obligated to, treat us nicely.
They opened the parts center in Dayton, Ohio.
And that was the gateway for used cash registers, trade-ins, parts, and other things that they previously couldn't get access to, at least not the original stuff.
The lawsuit against NCR essentially got NCR out of the used equipment business to a large extent.
In the 60s, you started to see the marriage of cash registers and data processing, where we started to have cash registers that were keeping track using paper punch tape and other means to collect a lot more information than they collected before.
The one thing about our industry is that it's always been in a state of movement. As we moved down the technology road and electronic cash registers came out, there was always a need for the printers or the power supplies or the cash drawers or the mechanical pieces that might fail.
In addition to being able to buy the parts, dealers who could now buy the manuals on the NCR equipment. They could also send their technicians to the NCR schools to be trained the same way an NCR employee would be trained.
So now we were able to provide retailers and grocery stores information that they had never had before, much more sophisticated technology that retailers and restaurants were seeking. The vendors use the association as a platform for them to get distribution, and that opportunity never existed before. In the 70s, a couple of things happened. They continued in the cash register business, but they didn't stop there. The Japanese manufacturers continued to develop well-priced, lower-end cash registers, electronic cash registers, now ECRs. And then we had American companies that all of a sudden started to create very sophisticated point-of-sale systems for retail and for the hospitality world. Technology, along with the dealers being ready to push that technology into the market, fueled tremendous growth in the 70s.
In the late 80s, early 90s, credit card processing began to be an integral part of a point-of-sale system.
At the time I was president of the board, my whole agenda was to eliminate a competing trade association called SDA.
System Dealers Association. It was kind of a bit of a break off from ICRDA. There was a point where the two decided they needed to merge to survive.
And we changed the name because in the ICRDA, that name didn't hold any meaning anymore. And we changed from being an organization, an association representing dealers only to now representing the industry, including vendors.
And that's how we became RSPA, Retail Solutions Providers Association.
And that was truly pivotal, a pivotal moment. It helped grow the association. If you attended any of these events, it was male-dominated. Howie Aiken tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I'd like to talk to you, see if you'd be interested in running for the board."
The association always had women behind the scenes, but not formally. That started to change. It started to change in the 80s and then in the 90s even more, and then certainly in the 2000s where we had women members, women-run dealerships, and then they became part of leadership.
I ran for the board and I won. I was the only female on the board.
Finally, we were seeing women move from being behind the scenes in support roles to the front lines.
It said that there's now a woman on the board, and other women could see that and say, hey, maybe that's something I can do too.
When I grew up, you would take a product off the shelf and you would add it to a piece of hardware and you would go sell it. Now, you've got to have something unique and different than what the competitor has, which oftentimes is your own intellectual property.
I think the greatest value out of RSPA has been the networking.
Number one would be the networking that it provides, offering the exhibit. I can look at 150 vendors in one visit.
The association has always been strong on education. We all came home from those meetings with an idea.
One of the conferences they presented is called Ownership Thinking. I took that to heart. My business was struggling. I took that concept back, presented it to two members of my team. We took that concept and we flipped within a year of losing money to more than tripling what our net income was the next year. That's impactful.
COVID forced people to think outside the box.
Now, point of sale is everywhere. It's in the palm of your hand. It's a kiosk. It's e-commerce. It's on your desktop. We're now using Alexa to order things. So whatever it is, the omni-channel approach to technology has enabled retailers and restaurants to take advantage of new ways of interacting with their consumers.
The sky is the limit, and I think that we're going to continue to see revolutionary things that we never thought were going to be possible that are going to impact the customer experience in ways that you never would have thought.
The founders of the association would be so proud and amazed as to how the organization has flourished along with its membership over the past 75 years. The spirit in which they created this association way back when has now taken the association to new heights, and I don't think any of them could have imagined how effective the association has been through the participation of all the members. We have not lost that spirit, and the association is equally as important today as it was 75 years ago.